J.C. Maltby here, Senior Pastor of the True Holiness Saints Center in the beautiful city of Conway, Arkansas. And you know what time it is. It is Wednesday Word time. So what is our Wednesday Word for tonight? Our Wednesday Word is communication. The word communication simply means to make known. To make known. Communication. In other words, it's to make known your feelings. It's to make known your opinions. It's to make known ideals and various thoughts. The word communication simply means to make known. And communication, for the most part, is to make known to other people what you're thinking. So when we talk about communication, we're talking about making what we think known to the other person. So here's what I want to do tonight. I want to simply give you 3 steps to help you have more effective communication. 3 steps to help you have more effective communication. Step number 1 is simply this: know when to be silent and just listen. Yeah, that's good teaching. You've got to know when to be silent and just listen. I know that it's human nature to want to express yourself. I know that it's human nature to want to be heard by others. But you've got to understand that one of the most effective keys to good communication is not just being heard, but listening to the other person. In fact, Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, said it in this manner. In Proverbs 18 and 13, here's what Solomon says. He says to answer before listening, that's to your folly and shame. In other words, Solomon was basically saying to us, you can't just assume you know the other person's position. You just can't assume that you know how they feel or their perspective. You've got to take time to be silent and listen to their thoughts. A wise person always takes the time to gather good information. A wise person always takes the time to listen to another person's perspective and point of view before making up their mind or before sharing their own thoughts on the subject. If you want to be an effective communicator, you've got to learn the importance of listening to other people. Always remember, good communication is not just about self-expression, but good communication is about understanding where the other person is coming from. So when you want to make your thoughts known to other people, the first step is to learn to listen, even if it means you have to be silent. But secondly tonight, the second step to good communication is simply this: always think before you speak. Now I'm going to just let that sit there for a moment. Always think before you begin to speak. I've heard it said over the years that you can't just say everything that comes to your mind. Maybe I ought to say that again. We cannot say everything that comes to our mind. In fact, King David says it best. King David says in Psalms 141 and 3, here's what he says. Set a guard over your mouth, Lord, and watch over the door of my lips. David says, set a guard over my mouth, Lord, and keep a watch over the door of my lips. In other words, David understood this principle. Some things are better left unsaid. Some things in life are better left unsaid. In other words, some of our thoughts should never come through our lips. There are some things in life that are better left unsaid. And the truth of the matter is this: there are some hot button topics. There are some issues that are unwise to discuss or to even make a comment on in mixed company. In other words, you should watch what you say, particularly when you're angry or overly emotional. You need to watch what you say, particularly when you have taken something that will impair your judgment or your speech. You should watch what you say when you're not sure of the validity of what you're talking about. If you're not sure of the credibility or the facts, you need to watch what you say. We can't just say everything that comes to mind. We've got to learn to think before we speak. Social media quote tonight concerning good communication. Our social media quote is simply this: private matters shouldn't be discussed in public settings. Now that's good advice. Private matters should never be discussed in public settings. We've got to think before we speak. There are some things you should refrain from discussing, again, in mixed company. And there are certain things you've got to refrain from discussing in public settings. Our Wednesday word today is communication. To make our thoughts, our ideas, our opinions known to others. If we're going to be good communicators, number one, we've got to know when to be silent. If we're going to be good communicators, number two, we've got to always think before we speak. And I'm going to close with this one tonight. If we're going to be good communicators, number three, we've got to check our tone at the door. Now that's good teaching. If you want to be a good communicator, you've got to learn to check your tone at the door. I've repeatedly said down through the years, it's not always what you say, but rather how you say it that causes the problem. What you say may be true. It may be factual, but it is your delivery that causes the tension in the discussion. I like the way that Solomon says it in Proverbs 15:1. King Solomon says it best. He says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word, my friends, stirs up anger. We need to learn how to talk to people the way we want to be talked to, particularly when we are in the heat of the moment. Let me back up and say this. Let me digress. It doesn't matter how emotionally charged you are in the moment. Doesn't matter how angry, how passionate, how upset, how sad you are. You've got to learn and train yourself how to talk to people, particularly in the heat of the moment. Exactly how you want to be talked to. That is the art of good communication. Always remember, the level of your voice matters. Nobody wants to be yelled at. And it's hard to argue with the people or with a person who doesn't raise their voice. So always remember, when it comes to your tone, the level matters. Here's another thing I want to talk about when it comes to tone. Nobody likes to be talked down to. Nobody likes to be belittled. Nobody likes to be treated like a child or made to feel inferior to other people. When it comes to your delivery, make sure that you're not talking down to people or treating them like a child. When it comes to your tone, the level matters. When it comes to your tone, your delivery matters. And here's another one. in the heat of the moment, when you're passionate about what you're talking about, always remember, no one likes to be insulted. Don't insult my intelligence. Don't insult my motive. And don't insult my point of view. Don't call people out of their name. Don't intentionally low blow them to try to hurt them. Nobody wants to be insulted in the middle of a civil conversation. Our Wednesday word tonight is communication. It is to make known what you're thinking. And the three most effective ways to communicate is to know when to be silent and simply listen. It is to always think before you speak. And it is to check your tone at the door. Until we speak again, my friends, be blessed.